Hi folks, it's OC from Digital Ventures. Got another great project for you today. This one is called Cannon Physics. And what we have is three different sprites. We have our cannon, we have a projectile, and we have a target. So let's click on full screen so we can see how this works. So we click on the green flag, we see the target spawns, we click on the mouse, and then it explodes the target. We stop this, let's do it one more time. Target randomly spawns, we can go our cannon back and forth. We click on the mouse down, it explodes the target with the cannonball. So let's stop this and then let's go inside and see how this works. So let's start off with our cannon. This is going to be super simple to program our cannon. So what we're going to do is we're going to start off with an event. We're going to say when that green flag is clicked. And when that green flag is clicked, what we want to do is we're going to get a forever loop. And then what we're going to have is our cannon pointing towards a mouse pointer. So what we're going to do is get a point toward block, and we're going to have it basically so that when we move that mouse pointer back and forth, the cannon actually actuates. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to program the projectile. So let's go ahead and clear out this existing code in here. And what we're going to do first is we're going to go into events. We're going to get ourselves a when green flag clicked. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a forever loop. Inside this forever loop, what we're going to do is we're going to put an if then else conditional statement, if then else. And what we're going to want to do is we're going to check for whether or not the mouse is down. So we're going to sense and we're going to check for whether or not this mouse is down. And if the mouse is down, we're going to do something. So what we're going to do is we're going to grab ourselves a repeat until block from control. So we're going to get this repeat until block. We're going to put that right there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to sense whether or not this projectile is touching the edge or not. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to create ourselves a couple variables. So the first variable that we're going to create is gravity. We're also going to create ourselves a speed variable. And we have these the check boxes here so we can see what these things are doing as we get going here. So the next thing that we want to do is we're going to get ourselves a move block. We don't want this to move by 10 steps. What we want this to do is move by that speed that we just created. So we're going to drop this speed right in here. The next thing that we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change our y by. So we're going to want to change our y by that gravity variable that we just created. So we're going to go back into variables. We're going to grab that variable, and now we've got that first part. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to grab two if-then conditional statements. And so we're going to grab one that we're going to put right there. We're going to grab another that we're going to put right there. And what we're going to do is we're going to check for a couple different things to be met. So we're going to use some operators here. First thing that we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a greater than operator. We're going to make that greater than to be 3. And what we're going to be checking for is whether or not our speed is greater than 3. So we're going to pop that right in there. And if our speed is greater than 3, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to change that speed by a negative 0.1. Negative 0.1. Then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to check another condition is, and this is going to be a greater than operator as well. So we're going to put this greater than here. We're going to have this be a negative 8. And this is where we're going to be checking for our gravity variable. So we're going to have this gravity set here. If our gravity is greater than a negative 8, then what we're going to do is we're going to want to change that gravity by a negative 0.1. And then the next thing that we're going to do is for the else, what we're going to do is we're going to set both the gravity and the speed variable. So we're going to set gravity, we're going to get speed, we're going to change this to the ones that we've created, gravity and speed, and we're going to set gravity to 1, and we're going to set speed to 13. And then what we're going to have it do is we're going to have it point towards the mouse pointer. So we're going to grab ourselves a point towards block. And then we're also going to have it do a go to block. So we're going to have this go to the cannon. And so those are all that we need for that projectile coding. Next thing that we're going to do is we're going to program our target. So what we're going to do is we're going to clear these existing things out of here. And the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a when green flag clicked. And with that when green flag click, what we're going to do is we're going to create a bunch of clones of ourselves. So let's grab 6 of these. You can obviously do as many as you want, but this is going to create that explosion effect. So let's grab 6 of these. So we've got 6 clones that are going to create themselves right when we click that green flag. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves another when green flag clicked. We're going to get ourselves a show. And then underneath that show, what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a forever loop. And then nested in that forever loop, we're going to get ourselves an if-then conditional statement. And the if-then conditional statement is going to be the boundary condition for what happens when we're touching the projectile. So we're going to say if we're touching the projectile, what we're going to want to do is we're going to broadcast a couple messages. So we're going to go into events. We're going to grab ourselves a broadcast. We're going to do a new message, and this is going to be hit. So we're going to say if we're touching the projectile, we're going to broadcast hit. And then what we're going to do is we're going to wait 0.2 of a second. And then once we have waited, what we're going to do is we're going to set our Y to. And what we're going to do is we don't want this just to be sort of anywhere. What we want it to do is we want this to be a random. So we're going to go back into operator. We're going to get a pick random, and we're going to have this vary between 170 and a negative 170. The next thing that we're going to want to do with our target is what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a when I receive messaging. So this is going to be a new message, and we're going to say when I receive this explode message. So when I receive explode, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into motion. I'm going to get myself a point in direction. And this point in direction, I want this to be random. So I'm going to get myself a pick random block. And I'm going to vary this between negative 90 and 180. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create an animation here. So we're going to do is a set size to. And this set size to, we want this to once again be random. So we're going to have this vary between 50 and 200%. And then what we're going to do is we're going to get ourselves a repeat block. So we're going to go into control. We're going to get ourselves a repeat block. We're going to have this repeat by 15. And then we're going to have it move by 6 steps. So instead of it being the 10, that's the default, we're going to change that to 6. And then what we're going to do is we're going to hide the whole thing. So let's hide this. And then the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to say what we're going to do with that message. So we're going to go back into events, and we're going to say that when I receive that hit message, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show up. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to broadcast to explode. I'm going to broadcast to explode. And so essentially we've added all the blocks of code that we need to make this game work. So let's click on full screen, make sure we have everything working right. So we click on the green flag, we see the target spawn, we shoot the thing and it explodes. Let's stop it, let's restart it. It's at the bottom of the screen there. Let's see if we can hit it. There you go. Let's have it spawn one more time randomly. There we go. Click on it. And then we see it explode. So hope you all enjoyed this project. As you saw, we had the ability to broadcast some messages. We created some clones. We created some cool animations. Hope you enjoyed it. And why don't you come back soon? And if you're enjoying our videos, give us a like, a comment, or a subscribe. Hope to see you next time. Thank you so much.